Hey guys, today I want to talk about EQs and IQs. And people in the Philippines tend to have the highest EQs, emotional quotients. Their IQs tend to be a little bit low, but their EQs are exceptionally high, and they're very, very high up there in the rankings when you go by countries and stuff like that. And El Salvador is way up there too. I have some friends that are El Salvador, and I'll tell you something. They are the kindest, nicest people, and they don't pop very easy when they get angry. Considering that there's Hispanic people, but the Filipinos, they tend to get angry less. Also, they're very in their jobs. They're more aware of what's going on. They're self-aware, and they try to self-maintain better than other people. People with higher IQs, I notice, one of the reasons why they have lower EQs is because they tend to think that their knowledge is power. That if you go against what they're saying, they tend to pop quicker. They have to point that out, and sometimes they get angry. They get angry when people are wrong, or the people that they think are wrong. And some Asperger's people tend to pop pretty easy too, because of the fact that they have the high IQs. And some of them can be very sweet and kind too. But I'm just saying, it just goes along with the territory of extremely smart people. Extremely smart people have a higher IQ, but their EQs tend to be lower. Because EQ and IQs doesn't mean if you have a high IQ that you have a high EQ too. Sometimes you can have a very low IQ but have a high EQ. And the Philippines, when it comes to IQs, they have some of the lowest IQs in Asia. And I'm not stereotyping or anything. That's just a fact. You can look it up. They just have lower IQs. It's something to do with their education here, their education levels, maybe their nutrition or something like that. But most people that you meet in the city are very intelligent and stuff like that. But I'm sure the people, as they get into these more poverty stricken areas, that I'm sure nutrition is a factor, and also the schooling is a factor also, because the people in the cities, I find, are extremely intelligent, and I find most of the people here in the Philippines to be very intelligent people. But if they took a test or something like that, they tend to go skew lower in the intelligence levels, but their EQ is extremely high. And one of the good things about that when you're working is that it shows at work, because a lot of people like to speak up and get, if you're in a meeting or something like that. And Filipinos and Filipinas tend to have more composure in their workplaces. They're calmer, they're easier going. They kind of take a look at what's going on in the room first. They kind of watch what's going on more. And I kind of wish Americans could be like that, because Americans are like that. They're right on it, man. If they have to say something, they say it, no matter how stupid it is. I that's one thing that I dislike about my own people, is that sometimes they don't stop and think about people's feelings. They don't stop and think that they might hurt somebody. And I know that there's a lot. And I'm not talking about like the woke stuff. I'm just talking any conversation in general. If they don't like it, they speak up before they think about it. This has nothing to do with politics or anything, so I don't want people to go there with that. That's not where we're going with this. EQ is really about that self-awareness, being self-aware of what's going on in the room, self-aware of your feelings, and being able to maintain your feelings, and having that awareness of what's going on around you all the time. It's one of those things that Americans don't have anymore. They've kind of lost that, and we used to probably have higher EQs, but we didn't even talk about this a long time ago. This is something that just come up fairly in the past 5 years or something like that, where we started talking about EQs. But I think in some ways, and some of the articles I read, they said the EQs are actually more important than the IQs, because it has to do with getting along with people. It has to being maintaining our own composure. That's important. A lot of people that are quick to snap, Italian people are kind of quick. They're known to be quick to snap. I'm not sure how their EQ would be. I haven't looked that up and find out, but I'd be curious to look that one up and see where they are on the scale, but the scale that I saw, I don't think it showed Italy on there. On the high scale of EQ, Philippines was right close to the top. I think El Salvador was second. People in Japan are on there too on that list. But it was an interesting read when I saw that, and you can look it up. There's all types of articles on EQ, and it's really interesting. And I love reading stuff about IQs, EQs, personalities, and all that. It really interests me. And I've actually ordered some more books on it, and I actually downloaded a bunch of stuff also, because it has to do with expats. It really does. Because when we come over here, we need to teach ourselves as expats to kind of just listen first, and before you open your mouth and spew out all our idiotic thoughts without thinking about who it's going to hurt or whatever. And a lot of Americans say, well, what do I give a crap who I hurt? You should give a crap about who you hurt, because we're like I said the other day, we're in a host country. You shouldn't be insulting Filipinos. You shouldn't be insulting people in general if you don't have to. I try not to insult people. I mean, yeah, we all joke around and stuff like that, and that's something we all do. You know, we as we say in the United States, we bust balls in the United States. You know, that doesn't have a lot to. It has a little bit to do with EQ. You have to know when you're hurting somebody, when you're not. And sometimes among guys, we're all okay, and then a week later, one guy's not okay with it. You know, and you gotta keep that in check too. But when you're talking to people over here, try to, have a little composure, and try to compose yourself a little bit, and maintain yourself a little bit more when you start getting angry, or you want to spout something off, or you want to say something, or you're angry, or you're sad, or whatever. Learn to compose those feelings and have more be able to self-regulate more. And it's for the better of you. A lot of people, Americans, they can't hold back their feelings, but if you learn to regulate your feelings, you're going to be a better person. Filipinos are like that. They're a very emotional person, but they know how to maintain those emotions too. They're probably the most emotional people that I've ever met in my life. That and the El Salvadorans, like I said, and there's some European countries that are like that also. Americans aren't like that anymore. Westerners aren't really like that anymore as much. We tend to have the biggest mouths in the world because we all think that we're the greatest. We're really not. We're all equals. I don't care if you're from Japan, Philippines, Australia, UK, United States, Canada, El Salvador, Colombia, or you're from some poor country, India, Bangladesh, or whatever. We're all equal, and we all kind of should look inward a little bit and kind of start self-regulating ourselves and start thinking about our EQs a little bit, because we're always having that learning experience. I like to read, learn instruments and things like that. I like to learn about psychology more and more all the time. I like to learn about the world more, the world situation. I like reading the news and all that. But as I read stuff, I see more and more people out there popping with anger or something like that really quick. Some countries are like that. I like to see where China is on that scale. I'd have to look up the whole thing. This was just a short list that I saw. But, as we talk about stuff like this, remember, we need to learn that. And I don't care if you have a higher EQ, you should be able to try to even raise it higher if you can. It's something that we all need to have. We all need to maintain and regulate, self-regulate, and think more about what we're saying, and watch what's going on in the room more, and think about what's going on in the room before we spout off our mouths. A lot of people, like I said, boom, just like that. I got a chicken over here coming over to visit me, probably looking for food or something. But anyway, guys, I want to talk a little bit about that. You may want to look some of this stuff up because it's really interesting. There's a lot of articles out there, and just start reading about it, because EQ is, like I said, it's way more important than IQs in some ways. Not to say that intelligence quotient isn't important. It is, but that EQ has to go along with it. You could be super intelligent, on the world stage, but be a dummy as far as your emotional quotient on how to deal with people. And I think we see a lot of that in the world today with all our leaders. You know, some of them just don't know how to self-regulate and self-maintain, and their mouths start going off too quick. Anyway, God bless, guys. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's chat. God bless, guys. Take care.